This is it, your final opportunity to join the 6 Pillars at Sea Marriage Getaway. In April 2025, we're setting sail for our last ever marriage getaway, and we want you there to experience the unforgettable journey to the extraordinary marriage you desire. Don't wait. Spots are extremely limited and they're filling fast. Get all the details now at oneextraordinarymarriage.com/getaway and reserve your place before it's gone.
From Naples, Florida, this is the One Extraordinary Marriage Show, where being busy is overdone, romancing is fun, and scheduling sex has taken the guesswork out of wondering when you're going to get some. I'm Tony DeLorenzo, your co-host, along with my beautiful wife, Elisa. From coast to coast and around the world, thank you for joining us. It's time to talk sex, love, and commitment. Give us a call or text us on the Hug Hotline at 858-876-5663. Or send us an email to hugs@oneextraordinarymarriage.com. In today's episode, we're looking at creative ways to build the romance and stay connected during the Christmas chaos.
There's an anonymous quote that says, "In the chaos of life, your love is my constant, grounding me and giving me strength to face anything." So if I could embellish that just a smidge, in the chaos of life around the Christmas season, your love is my constant, grounding me and giving me strength to face all of the chaos that the Christmas season brings. And we're going to be talking about that in today's episode because we know this is a super busy time and that there's a lot of demands. But first, we start every episode with a hug. And a hug is an opportunity to celebrate where you're having breakthrough, to celebrate what's changing in your marriage. And this hug comes from a review on the book, The 6 Pillars of Intimacy, The Secret to an Extraordinary Marriage. And this reviewer says, "This is truly one of the best and most valuable books I've read this year. Having been married for 10 years, it's true to say that my wife and I had lost our spark. This book has allowed us to work on ourselves and on those things that really matter."
I love it. That is so awesome. And to have a hug like this come this week, we just hit our 600th review on Amazon for the 6 Pillars of Intimacy. So for each and every one of you who have, 1, picked up the book, 2, have read it, and 3, have actually left a review, thank you to each and every one of you. This book has changed thousands and thousands and thousands of marriages because of your faithfulness. So thank you so much to each and every one of you.
And just in case you haven't read the book,
right,
you can check it out at 6pillarsofintimacy.com.
Yep.
And just know that we do read all of those reviews. It matters to us what you have to say about this book. And it matters to us what you all do during this month, where we're in the hustle and bustle of the Christmas season. Our wedding song was the Frank Sinatra song, Stranger.
Frank Sinatra?
That's what I said.
Oh, okay.
Frank Sinatra song, Strangers in the Night.
Yes.
And as I was preparing for this episode, I actually had the thought that there are probably a lot of couples that kind of feel that way during the month of December when there's so much going on. You can just feel like strangers, like I'm going here and he's going there, or she's going there and she's doing this and he's doing this and all of this kind of stuff. There's so much to get in, get done, and get over with that your connection, especially your romantic connection, can take a back seat to all of the things, right? It can be the concerts, the plays, the banquets, the galas, the parties, the Christmas lights, the Christmas cookies, wrapping presents, unwrapping presents, visiting the family, and a whole lot more.
Well, I would even put in there like travel.
Yes.
Multiple places to go to on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Multiple, like, especially for those of you who have larger families. And God bless you guys. I mean, when we were out at the 6 Pillars of Intimacy weekend in Fort Worth, Texas, we got to meet many of you there. And it to me, we've had 2 children. That's always what we wanted. We are cool. But then to meet other couples who have 4, 5, 7 children. So you take what we just put up here. When you think of concerts, plays, even Christmas parties, the cooking, the baking. For 2 at times, it felt like it was overwhelming for Elisa and I. I could only imagine when you start hitting 3 to 5 and then you hit like that 6 to 7. And then some of you, have had blended families or they're all your own children. Some of you we've heard who have 8, 9, 10. And it just becomes exponentially like, oh my goodness.
Absolutely. And that's a lot. And, I hear about it from so many of my coaching clients who talk about having this overscheduled December and not feeling like there's any time for the two of them in the midst of all of the things. And, Tony and I were having this conversation the other day because this is the first December in
a long time,
over 20 years that we are not in San Diego, which also means it's the first December that we are not in the circle of friends that we've been in. And it has really, really heightened our awareness as to just how busy December had become for us and just how kind of empty or less busy this December uniquely is to us, because literally we've been in, as of this recording, we've been in Naples for about 4.5 months. We've gotten plugged in, but it's still like you're still making friends. Right. It's not the same like, oh, well, we've been here for, 3 years. And
we've been here 4.5 months. I've gone through a tropical storm, 2 hurricanes, traveled 5 weekends for different trips, speaking events. And so unlike what may have been like, oh, we're going to get here, we're going to meet new people, we're going to get connected with our church. It has been a full season. And coming into December, we're sort of like, there's really not much going on. I mean, we have to buy a new Christmas tree because we didn't even bring our Christmas tree with us. So we do need to still decorate. But from a standpoint of, like you're saying, like the different parties and the different events. And
our kids are older, so we don't have the little kid events and things like and yet, I think not having all of that this year has really just brought us into this place of saying, okay, well, what does this season look like? Whether your calendar, you've got all of the littles at home and you're doing all of that kind of stuff, or because sometimes the opposite happens, you can have really not so structured or scheduled events on the calendar. And you can also get into this place where maybe you aren't romancing each other or having that connection as well. And, I had one of my coaching clients asked me the other day, in regard to this and all the things, they're like, but Elisa, isn't like what's the problem with wanting to do for everyone else and do all of these other things? And I said, actually, there's nothing that's a problem as long as it doesn't come at a cost to the marriage, right? As long as it doesn't put the marriage so far on the back burner that you guys start looking at January and you're like, who the heck are you? That we haven't felt connected. We haven't been in this place. And, last week on Instagram stories, we asked you, do the two of you schedule dedicated time for romance and connection this time of year? And a whopping 76% of you, I wish you guys could see Tony's eyes right now because he doesn't necessarily hear these statistics ahead of time.
That's huge.
His eyes just got really, really big. Because 76% of you said that you do not have dedicated scheduled time for romance and connection this time of year.
That's massive. And again, I think we need to look at this too. There's the sexual connection,
Absolutely.
Right? Like the romance, the initiating. Yes, I get that. And yet not having some dedicated time for the two of you on your calendar, like a walk and talk, maybe a date, at some point, and I don't care if it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, like a coffee date, something like that. That's a large number. And I think we need to address this because if we don't, we tend to go, like Elisa was saying, like we step into the new year and we're like, who are you? And why am I here with you anymore? And this is something that I've been hearing more and more lately myself. And it's concerning because our goal here at One Extraordinary Marriage is to impact one marriage every day. And I will say the way we can impact your marriage is to help you find that dedicated time to get close and connected so that you strengthen, you have the extraordinary marriage you desire.
Well, and you mentioned sexual intimacy, and it's not solely the sexual intimacy.
No, not at all.
In fact, when we talk about romance and connection, I know oftentimes we talk about romance as being a factor, a component of your sexual intimacy, but it's not solely in your. You can have romance and have that be part of your emotional intimacy. You can have romance and have that be part of your physical or your recreational intimacy. And it's really looking at this time, like I told a couple that I was working with yesterday, I'm like, I'm not asking you as your coach to spend hours upon hours upon hours, like lovingly gazing into each other's eyes. And they just looked at me and they started laughing. I'm like, okay, good. You got the joke in that. Because most of us don't, especially this time of year in the chaos, we don't have that kind of time.
Right.
So what happens if you look at your calendar and you start saying, hey, where can we find us? Where can we grab a cup of coffee and just sit down and, just have one cup of coffee together this week? That would be great. If your husband or wife doesn't drink coffee, make it tea, or, in my case, it's an unsweetened iced tea because Tony doesn't drink anything else but unsweetened iced tea.
That's right.
That's right. If you know, you know. Where can we maybe get a dinner date? Where can we just go for a walk? And we ask the question too, what does keep the spark alive for the two of you this season? And I loved some of the answers we got. Watching Christmas movies we like, not just the ones the kids like.
We got to watch our Elf.
Good for you guys.
That's right.
Christmas lingerie came out. Date nights to holiday bars and restaurants. And so I mean, obviously we don't know what you all mean by that, but I do know that there are a lot of places that are uniquely decorated.
Oh,
this time of year, so they might have certain decorations.
Oh,
there
that's
might be
all
places
set up for it's very Christmassy themed.
Yeah, there are restaurants that do that. There are restaurants that have kind of a more Christmas themed menu or holiday menu, that type of thing. Looking at that, somebody mentioned mistletoe. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you get a fake mistletoe and you stick it up somewhere that you both have to walk through a lot, and you're like, "Come kiss me." Mm-hmm. Other answers were an overnight away in our hometown. So it was just these and I know that one I know y'all are just like, Elisa, you just said it doesn't have to be hours. If you have hours and you can get away for an overnight in the middle of December, just the two of you, I'm not opposed to it, you guys.
Right.
It would be a really good reset before you go into the new year. But we also got responses to this question great question. I wish we both knew how to slow down. Or any ideas for us? And it really starts to get at the fact that there are a lot of you that want that time with your spouse. You wish you could slow down. I have another coaching client where I started working with her back, I think it was April or May. And one of the first things she told me about was her month of December. And I said, okay, we're going to start planning for December right now. And she looked at me and I go, no, seriously, we're going to figure out how. And working with just some of the commitments and what she was saying yes to. And I actually had a session with her and her husband this week, and they both looked at me and they're like, December's better this year.
Awesome.
I was just like, okay, mission accomplished. We were working on other stuff, but that particular mission of not feeling so frazzled and so disconnected, you can accomplish that, but it's really being in this place of saying, we don't want the decline in our emotional, physical, recreational, sexual intimacy. We don't want that. But if you don't know that there's another way, if you don't know that you can make different choices, you can feel really stifled. Mm-hmm. You can really feel like, okay, this is just another Groundhog December. Forget the movie Groundhog Day. Some of you are doing Groundhog months every time December rolls around because everything else is on the calendar but the two of you. Because a lot of you right now, even when I make that statement, you're thinking about your calendar and you're like, okay, we're about, 2.5, 3 weeks into December. And yeah, we've done all the parties and I've got cookies and I've got gifts that are showing up and we've got the travel scheduled. And yet when I say, where's your spouse? Some of you are like, it's almost like a hard stop. The brakes are screeching and going, what? What does that look like? And I'm wondering what would happen if the two of you scheduled time just for the two of you in the same way that you scheduled all your events. Or what would be different in the new year if you make time for romance and connection and being a couple in spite of the busyness and chaos that's happening this time of year. And this hits home. As a marriage coach, this is, I'll tell you, this is actually one of the scariest times of the year as a marriage coach. Because I know that there are a lot of couples making a decision on what 2025 is going to look like for their marriage. And I don't know that one date is going to fix everything. In fact, I would argue that it doesn't. But the counter argument to that would be one date is the start of something. One opportunity to have connection together. And maybe you don't have ideas. And you know what? Let's talk about what some of those ideas could be after this break.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
Streaming now on Peacock. Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie are back.
That's hot. Loves it.
For a show-stopping reunion that will prove putting on an opera is anything but simple.
We're really good at this.
One thing's for sure, they won't be upstaged.
Good to have you back. Come on, we've got a show to do.
Paris and Nicole, The Encore, a 3-part reunion special. Streaming now, only on Peacock.
We're back, and we're talking about the two of you making time for one another in the midst of the chaos of this busy season. And even as I say those words out loud, really what it boils down to is, how can you make your spouse feel like a priority? How do they know that beyond the presence or the shopping or the events or the activities, that like one spouse said to another in a coaching session last night, I'm really glad you're home. I'm really glad you're here. You know, that's probably, 6 or 7 words. I can't count it off the top of my head without using my fingers. But is your spouse hearing that this time of year? Are you doing the things that express romance and connection to them? And, the final question we had asked is, what is one romantic idea that you'd love to do with your spouse?
I like that.
Right? So we're sharing the answers with you on purpose. Why? Because there might be something in here that resonates with you or your spouse that you two could talk about and do and have it be something romantic between the two of you.
Yeah. And some of these are just, they're just great. And a lot of times we love sharing with you, the one family, what others are doing, because we can get stuck. And it's like, well, what do we do? And I love these, get away together for a weekend. It is a great thing to do. Just let's go. Get the grandparents. And if you're an empty nester, you're getting to the place where I know Elise and I are. It's like, well, why do we got to go do stuff? Like it requires, I think, a lot of planning at times, but making our marriage a priority to go, like, we're going to get away. We could sleep in our own bed, but we're going to get out of our home, I love this one. Home goods shopping spree.
Okay. I have to comment on this one. I saw this and I just loved it. Guys, if you don't know what home goods is, ask your wife. Your wife will have heard that one and she will be like, yeah, that could actually work for me. I think probably the male equivalent would be like Bass Pro Shops. That was the first thing that came to, or like Cabela's or something like that would be the male equivalent. Yep. If I had to guess.
Yeah. Someone said anything. Walk on the beach, and I would put, slash, walking around your neighborhood in the mountains, wherever that is. For Elisa and I, as many of you know, having lived in San Diego, we did a lot of our walk and talks on the beach right there at Torrey Pines. Now that we're in Naples, it's a different vibe to go to the beach. It's not like it was in San Diego, but we live in a beautiful community, and we get up and we go walking around our community, and it's awesome. You give me a little smirk.
No, I'm just giggling because the size of our community. I actually had one of the residents tell me, neighbors tell me that there's probably about 20 miles worth of walking just within our community. And Tony and I can easily get 4.5 miles just going out for a walk ourselves right here.
So for us, so think about a different way, around the lake, whatever it may be. Go see Christmas lights. Yes, that's something that Elise and I are going to be doing here in our new home. Ice skating. I do want to say this. We were in New York City. We got to go to Rockefeller Center, got to see the tree. The ice skating rink in front of the tree is smaller than I expected.
I feel like when you see it on the movies, clearly it's a different ice skating rink, or the cameras are just really, really good.
I think it's a different ice skating rink for sure, because beautiful. If you've never gone to New York City for Christmas, it wasn't a bucket list item for us or anything. We were there for an event that we got invited to. It's amazing. And more amazing than that tree and the ice skating rink and the whole Christmas thing is you go across Fifth Ave and you go to St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Mm-hmm.
That is absolutely out of this world.
Like, if you don't know that's a bucket list item, we're just going to encourage you that maybe that is a bucket list item. Just because of the intricate architecture, the design work, all of it. I had to laugh there too because there is a nativity scene.
Yes.
Obviously, we're there at Christmas time, and there's a nativity scene. And for all my dog lovers, you will love this because there is a golden retriever in the nativity scene. I actually sent it to a girlfriend who loves dogs, and I was just like, okay, well, that's the first time I've seen a dog in a nativity scene, but she responded back with, of course, God loves dogs.
Yes, absolutely. I love this next one. Someone said, watching Christmas movies naked in bed all morning.
Which just like wraps my head around like a lot of different things because it's like all morning. So totally changing the time of day, watching the Christmas movie. Like, we haven't had a TV in our room. So like we'd have to like, that would take a little more.
And we still have one child at home.
But yeah, that's a little harder unless she's working in the morning. But sex in a slightly risky place was another one that came up. And I have to say, anytime we hear a comment like this, one, go for it. Two, we just have to put our little caveat on here that you all know that you're adults and just follow the local laws and regulations.
Yep.
That's all I'm going to say.
You get a ticket for that. That's on you, not us. Fireside massages. You know, we have our awesome Every Intimate massage cream. If you want to add that to it, that stuff is primo. Primo. But I like that sort of that fireside massage because I think about it. It's like, it's cooler. It's cooler here in Florida right now, actually.
As we're recording this, it was in the 40s in the morning.
There aren't many fireplaces here in Florida, so that doesn't happen. We'd have to get a fake one. But I just think about that. That'd be really cool. Like it's colder outside and you have the fireplace sort of going and you're getting a massage next to it. I'm like, gosh, the touch, the physical intimacy, the heat from the fire. I'm like, yeah. Try new sex positions. Amen. All day long. Pray together. What a beautiful time to be doing this too is, pressing in for one another, your marriage, for your kids, for your family members, for your pastors, for anybody. Like this is the time to be pressing in and doing that. Go on a hike and pack in a picnic. I mean, these are things that each of you could pick one and do for the month and get away from that Christmas chaos and make each other a priority. And the final one, 12 days of sexy Christmas, however you interpret that. And we've heard over the years, and we have a couple of articles. If I remember to go look for them, I'll put those here in the episode notes. But I mean, we've heard people do like 12 days of Christmas, like having sex, 12 days of Christmas. We've heard folks going like 12 days of sexy lingerie, like, husband's buying his wife like some fun lingerie or underwear or whatever. We've seen, I'm trying to think what was the other one. Top of my head. Little gifts, like sexy gifts. Oh yeah, those sexy gifts was another one.
So it was like 12 days of Christmas in your own bedroom, and so it was just like little sexy gifts or toys, whatnot, for the two of you, lubes, things like that. And that's why I love that whole, just interpret that however you want. But it was really interesting because as these ideas, and there were more, as these ideas were coming in, you really start to see that there are opportunities to look at this from the whole spectrum, right? Things that you can do at home, things that you do out and about. You can focus on your sexual intimacy. You can focus on your recreational intimacy. You can be in this place where it's what works for the two of you, ultimately. But what are you going to do, right? What activities could you do? What could you and your spouse do this Christmas season to make you feel more connected, not less? Because I will tell you, we will all get through this Christmas season and the new year will start. What's going to happen? Our heart, as we record this episode, is that the two of you go into the new year excited about your marriage, excited about how the two of you were a team this month, excited about feeling connected and really being able to sit there on the 31st, looking back to 24 and say, you know what? I feel really good about how we handled that. I feel really good about how we made one another a priority. And then looking forward to the new year and saying, how are we going to do it again this year? Mm-hmm. Right? Like what a conversation that is to have. And you two can do that. It's the choices that you make to make one another feel like a priority in the moment. Again, we're not saying you have to do something the entire month of December. We're not saying you have to spend hours and hours and hours. But what are those actions that demonstrate to your spouse, I see you, I want to spend time with you, and I want to invest in our marriage?
Yeah, that's really good. I just want to say this. That was really good. I loved it.
I love when he's like, oh, I thought you were going to say more.
I was starstruck.
Oh, you're so sweet.
So 2 links I'm going to put here in the episode notes. 12 Days of Christmas Challenge to Strengthen Your Marriage, and then 15 Ways to Romance Your Spouse over the next 30 days.
Oh, wow.
Take both of those. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You can use them now in this busy season in the chaos of Christmas, and as we even enter into New Year. And what can you do with both of those, or either one of those, to step into what's ahead? Because here at One Extraordinary Marriage, we believe in you. We know you have greatness on you. We know your marriage has greatness. And yet sometimes we can get a little, even Elisa and I, we can get a little sidetracked. And we need a little bit of a reminder. And sometimes even just a little swift kick to just go, oh, wow. Like, I need to change something up. I need to get out of my routine. I need to get out of the things that I've always done or the way I've always seen it. And yes, it takes a bit. I'm not going to say it doesn't. I'm 51 years old. Sometimes I'm starting to find myself like getting caught in like, well, this is the way it is. And I have to remind myself, no, if we want to have an extraordinary marriage, I need to step out sometimes. I need to step out and go, okay, we're going to do something to create that extraordinary in our marriage. And our prayer is for you to take some time to make sure that you connect, that you romance one another during this Christmas season. You guys have yourselves a fantastic week. We'll catch you next week. Love you guys. Thank you for listening to the One Extraordinary Marriage Show. If you love this podcast, please leave a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you are listening. Your review helps others find the show and know that it's the right fit for them and their marriage.